Hello everyone, this is Eva from Junko Studios. Today I have Sydney joining me for a special Drinks and Digital Chat. Sydney is the Demand Generation Manager at Klue. Today, she's going to walk us through how she would set up and structure a LinkedIn campaign for Stay.io, a company that we just made it up. As she set up the campaign, I will ask her a question to really understand her thought process behind the campaign structure, why she does certain thing, and what is the reason behind it. Mm-hmm. Sydney, are you ready for the challenge?
Yeah, let's do this.
Let's do this. We are looking at the LinkedIn campaign manager where Sydney is going to walk us through how she would set up a campaign. So for this example, Stay.io is a B2B software company. They are selling to salespeople, and it's a sales training platform.
Yep.
So there's no restriction in terms of the industry for this example. Mm-hmm. And the goal for this campaign is to get our ideal customer to read a case study on the website. Okay, so here's all the requirement. Now let's see how you could set up campaign for this case study.
Perfect. Okay, so I've gone ahead and set up our own drinks and digital testing campaign group. So that's where you'll usually start out. You'll create a new one there. So I'm just going to go into this campaign group, and then I'll go in and actually create a campaign within that campaign group. So get started there. So yeah, it's choosing the correct campaign group. So I'll just continue to next. And as Eva pointed out, we're going to be trying to get them to read a case study.
Yes.
So that means we're going to work off of likely website conversions, just due to us wanting them to actually give us their name and their email. And then we'll go in and have them download the actual asset. So that's what I usually choose for that. The website conversions there as the first steps, and then it will go through. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what are some common objectives that you would choose for running LinkedIn campaign? Mm-hmm. So beside website conversion, is there any other one you usually run, and which one would you recommend?
Yeah, so I really like to get a good diverse mix going, depending on your budget and how much you can usually put in to LinkedIn advertising. But I like to have a few that are website visits, get a few cheap clicks going to the website. And then also lead generation is actually a really good one for the direct downloads. That one has been it gets really good delivery onto the platform. So I like using that one. And they might be a little bit more lower intent because they're not actually leaving LinkedIn to go to your website. But I find it is a good way to get a little bit different audience, because when people are scrolling, sometimes it's nice just to stay in the platform too. So I use lead generation quite a bit as well. But if you want to be building more of a brand, you're trying to get more of an experience out there, I like to choose website conversion so I can get them to my website. So that's
okay. So three objectives you usually use are website visit, lead generation, and website conversion.
Exactly. Yeah.
And obviously, depending on the ad budget the company has, if they do have enough budget, you think it's better to have a different mix.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, mix it up, especially at top of the funnel where you're trying to get as many people in as possible to get to know your brand and, interact with it.
Okay.
So yeah, I definitely like to mix it up with those three.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Let's keep going.
Cool. Moving on. Okay. So obviously here, since we are a B2B SaaS company, we're trying to target by location, of course. We want Canada and the US. So I usually just go in there. If you are trying to do like more worldwide, I like to be a little bit more specific. So just make sure you're getting the actual countries that you want your ideal customer will be in. If you were to do all of Europe, you might get some countries that aren't really ideal customers.
So you like to be a bit more specific when you come to location.
Definitely.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And also try to exclude when you can if you had some sort of targeting going on where you're trying to get like maybe Europe and the Middle East, but you don't want certain countries like Turkey or something like that, then make sure you exclude them as well.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Then you go in, I always make sure that my profile language is set to English for this purpose. And then you'll go in and narrow your customers down. So if you think about it, like LinkedIn right now is forecasting over 200 million right now.
A lot of people.
So that's a lot. So let's narrow that down a bit, make it a little bit tighter. LinkedIn is most effective, I find, when you're really tight to your target audience, like as tight as you can while being as broad as you can. So it's like a fine balance that you have to get down in this.
Here's
this
a
stage.
question for you. So in your experience, is it kind of like a good number range that not like a rule of thumb that you have to stay to that, but it's kind of like a range that you found works pretty well in your experience?
Yeah, I mean, that's really up to debate, but
yeah, for sure.
I like having a target audience size like forecasted above 250,000. But I find when you start going lower than that, especially when you start importing lists, which is a whole nother story, then that will start to get a little bit more expensive. So, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Do you have thoughts on that? Or is that kind of what you look out for too?
Oh, it's a question for me right now?
Yeah, no, I'm switching it back to you.
Okay. It really depends on ad budget, to be honest.
It does, yeah.
So if they have a lot of ad budget and they really want to see what a specific segment of people reacting to their messaging, to their content, I go a lot more narrow, maybe like 50K to 100K. That's kind of like where I go.
Oh, yeah.
But if they do not have that many ad budget, and they cannot have that many more segmentation, then I might go a little bit broader. So it does depend on the ad budget, because rule of thumb, I do notice that the narrower your audience is, the more you have to pay, to reach those people. So for me, if I have a lot more budget, I would have like a multiple audience with different segmentation, go a little bit like a smaller pocket. But if the budget is limited, I might go a little bit broader just to see how people react with the first campaign.
Totally. Yep. That makes sense. Yeah, I'm on board with that. So yeah, I'll usually start off not with retargeting or anything right now, especially it's more top of the funnel. So I'll go into audience attributes and I'll start dissecting it a little bit more. I typically will go after job experience, their job titles within the job experience. So say my ideal customer profile were like salespeople or product marketing managers, whatever it may be. That's what I would put in there.
So is this where you spend most of your time in terms of set up a campaign? Like, do you spend a lot of time kind of just tap different job title, trying different targeting just to get a good size?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I'll definitely be in this job experience range. And then let's actually go in and let's just say manager. We'll say sales manager, because this is a sales training platform. Then I'll go into sales director. I mean, sales is kind of an ambiguous term too for LinkedIn. Like lots of people are putting their job titles as sales director and whatnot, and they could be a different range. So I also like to narrow it in after that a little bit more. So I'll show you that in a sec.
So this is kind of just where you start. You're trying to see what job title pops up. You're trying to see what is the target audience size number is under the forecast result. So you're just trying to play around right now a little bit. Okay.
I'm going to take out BDR. I'm looking for more of like a manager level. So I'll have that kind of criteria. So there'll likely be a lot more roles that I put in there, but just to show you an example.
Okay.
I find it's really hard with this one. I actually stay away from job seniorities a little bit more, but I like to also use this function to kind of see what the percentages are. But it's giving me kind of like a really weird mix of entry and also manager. So to get that out, I also like to use years of experience.
So you prefer to use years experience rather than the seniority one?
Yeah, I do.
So do you have a better result in your experience?
I have in the past. I find that it is a little bit more targeted to the actual manager level. I find seniority, I'm not sure why, and maybe LinkedIn can tell me a little bit more next time, but I find that the job seniority is not really on, it's not exact, it's kind of, it's hard to guess. Just like people could put in whatever sales title they want. It's not as exact as we want it. So I usually like to put it in there. So once I get the job level done, I'll put in either the titles or the years of experience there. I'll go into, where is it? I'm losing it. Oh, I'll go into company. Sorry. There we go. And then I'll start going into the industries that I want to actually target for this campaign.
Okay. So do you usually, obviously for this example, I didn't provide too much background information in terms of which industry specifically we're going for. But in your experience, do you recommend people to be a bit more specific in terms of like the vertical they're going after, or maybe like job title rather than just kind of try to catch it all?
Yeah, for sure. And I'll also make sure that I'm mixing, like I'll have multiple, depending on your budget, of course, but I'll have multiple campaigns that will kind of go through and be like top of funnel, top. This will be sales managers. And then I'll break it down by the industry. Like if that's the differentiating factor that we want to test for, we'll do like IT, software, or whatever it may be.
Okay.
And put it in like that. So then when I'm going through, I'll remember, okay, that was the test group. And then we can try another industry going forward.
Gotcha.
But it really depends on who your ideal customer is. So
okay.
Yeah.
So it's really about who you are targeting. So I remember you told me like many times, always keep in mind who you're trying to reach, always keep in mind who you're going after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
I also like the way you name your campaign because it is very obviously for me, even without looking at it, I know, okay, this is more like top of funnel type of campaign. You're going for sales manager and in the IT and software industry. So anybody in your team, if they need to access this platform, they can know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Just by looking at the naming. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's great debate about whether using or and. I usually do and. So that means that they have to also be in this one. And you'll notice that your target audience group will go down, of course, or your size will go down. It went from like 12 million now down to 120,000. So it is a little bit more narrow than I would have liked. So I usually would at that stage add in more job titles and maybe expand it a little bit more in terms of customer or company size and whatnot. So yeah, maybe I'll like see even so. Yeah. So if I took away that one, obviously it goes even more narrow. So you got to just keep playing around with it.
Got you.
And eventually you'll find your actual ideal customer once you finish all these testing. And it usually takes several weeks to actually get that, as you probably know. So I like to give it about like 2 to 4 weeks, depending on your budget and always depending on the budget.
Yeah.
To actually see which one is the better audience to go for.
Do you have a kind of like a budget recommendation for people, to test different audience size? Obviously, like I say, depending on how much budget you have, the more audience you can test, the more specific you can go. So do you have like a good recommendation or like, in your experience, what is a good testing ad budget for a particular campaign?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, for me, for B2B SaaS, I find each campaign will get about $100 a day. I think you can go lower than that. And when we go down more towards the bidding, I think we can talk more about that too.
Yeah.
And it gets a little bit interesting there. But yeah, I think $100 a day for that campaign, it's a good test.
So basically you're recommending, like $100 per day per campaign is a pretty good starting point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It gives you some leeway room.
So the more campaign group you want to test, like you basically just multiple, $100 per group you want to do, then it's $200 per day. You just multiply by that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, always depends. And I mean, if you're not doing this industry thing, if you can get away with just doing like the job title, obviously that opens it up a lot more. I also like to exclude as many audience types as I can. So say your definition of an MQL coming in through advertising is actually by your company size. So I will say my ICP was anyone that was actually with a company that was over 200 employees. So I'll actually exclude all of these ones below the 200 mark.
Interesting. So you use exclude rather than including people.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a particular reason behind it?
Especially like for my typical audience that I'm going for, we are very specific who we do not want to target. So I think it's easier to exclude in that case rather than to, try to include all the different people that we do want to target because it's a little bit more open on that side. So I'll have that in there. And then you'll see it's gone down quite a bit from just doing that from like over 1 million to 88,000. So, or 800,000. This one is an interesting one too. This is definitely something I also turn off because I find, especially when you're starting off and you're testing things, you really just want to know specifically what this audience will be like and how they'll react to your ads. So by enabling the actual audience expansion, you're going to get a little bit of a overflow of audience that you don't want. So I always keep that off.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I always have that unchecked.
Yeah.
LinkedIn make it like auto check.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like you say, you already gone through all the process, of defining audience you want to test.
Yeah.
Why do you want to mess up with that data?
Exactly. Yeah. And then obviously you have to choose your ad format. So each of these campaigns, you'll have to make sure that you choose a ad format and stick with that one for that campaign. So single image ad is probably the most common one. I really love carousel image ads because it gives you more of an experience to scroll through on the feed, especially for mobile. So I like to test that out. And I think you really have to put some thought into the design of it before you go for those ones, like just to make sure it's a nice flowing experience. And then obviously videos. People love video ads. I'm a big fan of them too. So those are the three I stick with.
Okay. So those are the three you use the most for in your campaign mix.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. Which one would you, let's say if a company, with limited budget just want to test out for the first run, which ad format would you recommend first?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think just due to the production costs of making a video, of making more images for a carousel ad, I would stick with the single image ad. So just having, you can test multiple variations of the image ad too in that one. So I would have like 2 different ones. Sometimes you can test square versus vertical, horizontal. And that would allow you to get a little bit more space or real estate on the feed from mobile scrolling too. So I like square. So I would stick with single image ad because you have more flexibility and you don't need to burn through a lot of resources to put something up here.
So it's a simple way to start first campaign. Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely. And then of course, I'll just put Sydney. Actually, I won't do that. We'll just say Klue. There we go. I also turn off this placement because onto LinkedIn because I specifically want to be advertising on LinkedIn. So I don't agree with running ads on the audience network because I'm very mindful of how I want to spend my money. Some people do like this, but I think it really dilutes the numbers. So I like to turn it off.
Gotcha. I'm with you on that. Again, right? You kind of want to see how the audience perform on a particular platform. Why dilute the data again?
Yep, totally.
So your daily budget usually you would recommend start at $100 per day if possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's possible for sure.
Okay. Now we are at the bidding strategy part. So where do you usually go about this part first?
Yeah, this one I normally will go to maximum delivery, but I know that's kind of up for debate for a lot of people. Manual bidding, you will have to put more of an eye on it, but I think you get a better value with that. So what do you think for that manual bidding versus maximum delivery?
So I think for me, in my case, if you have the resource, as if you have someone who can, dedicated, focusing on LinkedIn or like just ad in general, kind of really looking at the campaign, I think manual bidding is a good place to start. But like you said, it does take a lot more time because you have to see, is the bidding too high? Is the bidding too low? Do you have to adjust it? Whereas max delivery, automated bidding, you set it, and you kind of can forget it in a short period of time.
Totally.
Yeah. So to me, because I do this full time, I always go with manual bidding. But I definitely thinking it depending on essentially just how much resource you have, right? Like if you have internal staff or you working with external person who can dedicate it on the platform to really monitor the performance, go with manual bidding. Because like you said, you have more control, you get a better buck for your bank.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that resource and you still want to test out the platform, maximum delivery is a good place to start.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'll usually go. I don't want to be spending too much time looking into how much I need to bid, but yeah. That's totally a good spot to start. I think it's worth doing a whole new video based on that too. Okay, cool. So yeah, that kind of takes you to the end of the bidding and the setting up the actual campaign process. I also will have in my typical accounts, I'll have all of my pixels set up already. So whether that's a specific form event that I want to track, I'll put that in there. It really will vary depending on the campaign. So normally I'll have my content download tracking right here, and then I'll just click that one and go on.
Okay.
So that's pretty much all of the campaign setup that I need. Once you get the conversion tracking in there, that will let you go to the next phase. So step 3 is the actual ad setup. And obviously today we didn't prepare any ads to actually go through.
Yeah.
But maybe we can talk a little bit about how I would normally prepare those ads, just as a campaign in general.
Yeah, for sure. It would be great to know, what are some, how many assets did you usually prepare for one campaign, and what is a good amount that you recommend people to start with for testing?
Definitely, yeah. So for each campaign, you want to have one test objective. So whether that be messaging or I guess creative variation, like whether it's square or horizontal ad spec. So there's a few different ways that you can look into it, but most of the time it's messaging that I'm really trying to test.
When you say messaging, you mean the copy?
Yeah, the copy.
So you usually like to start with testing the ad copy first?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So it will be one variation per ad. So to start off, I would normally have about 4 to 6 ads in one campaign.
4 to 6 ads in one campaign.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that could be a mix of different images, or that could be a mix of different copy variations. Really depends.
But it only test one thing at a time.
Only one thing at a time. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So for example, if I had 4 ads that I'm putting into this campaign, I would change the introductory text. Probably that would be the main thing that I would want to test. So I would change that for all 4 versions. Or an easier way to do it is you can have 2 different variations of the image size. So either 2 square image ads running and then 2 horizontal image ads running. And then you can have just the same variations of text for them.
Gotcha. So to recap, basically you usually start with testing the messaging, the ad copy first, and then you're going to test the creative, like image, the dimension of the image, maybe the content go into it. And usually you're going to have 4 to 6 ads for one testing.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Cool.
Yeah, and I'll look back at the click-through rate to see which one, and also which one's converting the best, which one actually had the most downloads. So
how long do you usually wait to how long do you usually run a campaign for the initial round of testing?
Yeah, so first, since we're doing a campaign that's about $100 per day, I will usually run it about 2 weeks and check. I'll be checking it every day pretty much just to see if there's any inconsistencies or anything to be aware of, and then at the 2 week mark, that's usually when I'll start switching over to new assets, or I'll try something different. So
okay, yeah. So basically, you usually run with that ad budget. You usually run for 2 weeks, look at the data, and then make adjustments.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Cool.
So that's pretty much it. Once you get through step 3, you just review it on step 4. Super simple. Just to recap, I guess, how this is set up. So I would choose, if I'm doing case study download, content download, I'm doing website conversions usually. I'm going through and making sure that my location is very specific and excluding any that wouldn't be part of my ICP. Also making sure that it's as broad as possible, but at the same time as specific as possible, balancing it out. So I'll have my job titles that I'm looking at going after, or I'll also narrow it down by company size or company vertical, like what industry they're in. And then we have the company size. I'll exclude anyone that really isn't in my ICP. So being a little bit more specific will help balance out a broader audience, but at the same time, a more targeted approach. And then making sure that audience expansion is off. Just run a simple single image ad to start testing 4 to 6 variations. And then, that's pretty much it. And then you'll just have your page associated with it, and make sure you disable the LinkedIn audience network just to start. And that's pretty much it. That's how you set up a campaign, really quick and easy.
Okay, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for sharing your thought process and the step-by-step behind theme process for creating a campaign. It was super helpful. Thank you for being so open about it with all my questions. I hope I didn't bombard you with too many of them.
No, it's good. Thanks for having me, Eva. It's always good to nerd out on marketing things with you, and hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah. If there's any kind of specific question or behind thing or like step-by-step setup you guys wanted to know, we are testing the new format and we want to do more of it. So if you have any idea, please message us.
Yeah, comment or message us. Let us know what you'd like to hear about next. I'm always up for talking more about marketing, so just message me. Thanks.